we're going to Canada, make some attempt to liberate it non-violently.
Yes.
It deserves to live in freedom and peace and not in rapid, disgusting decline. What kind of reception do you think we'll get in Canada?
There are people who really do desire the truth and understand what's at stake.
But if we show up and announce we're here to liberate Canada, what do you think will happen?
Well, their hair is going to start on fire and they're going to freak out.
Justin Trudeau is such a metrosexual buffoon, always dressing up in little costumes, that it's almost impossible, or it was almost impossible, to think of him as an authoritarian dictator. You can't take him seriously enough to be afraid of him. But then you probably don't live in Canada. But all of that began to change 2 winters ago. This was the height of the COVID lockdowns, and Canada had some of the most restrictive COVID regulations in the world. Among them was a vax mandate. The people who told you it was your body, your choice didn't believe that at all. All of a sudden, they told you, you must take the shot or you can't participate in life. You can't go anywhere, you can't work. Well, there is at least one group of Canadians with testosterone levels sufficient to question an order like that, and they turned out to be long-haul truckers. And they descended on Canadian cities in January of 2022 to make their voices heard, as they say on the news, to make their voices heard. But they were not greeted in the way that other groups who want to make their voices heard are greeted, as heroes. No. They were greeted with derision in the Canadian media, which effectively is an arm of the Trudeau administration, and by our media, which is effectively an arm of the Democratic Party. Almost nobody took their side. But what's interesting is how reasonable their demands were. Listen to us. Hey, Canada, maybe forcing people to take an untested medicine is not a good idea. They didn't threaten violence. They weren't violent. They were the core of the Canadian middle class, which is almost extinct at this point. But what was so telling, and should really have been foreshadowing of what came later, was Justin Trudeau's reaction to the Canadian truckers, to the trucker convoy. He refused to speak to them. Here he's explaining why.
Is there a reason that you can give as for why you will not discuss or have any negotiations with this particular group?
I have attended protests and rallies in the past when I agreed with the goals, when I supported the people expressing their concerns and their issues. Black Lives Matter is an excellent example of that. But I have also chosen to not go anywhere near protests that have expressed hateful rhetoric, violence towards fellow citizens, and a disrespect not just of science, but of the frontline health workers and, quite frankly, the 90% of truckers who have been doing the right thing to keep Canadians safe, to put food on our tables.